What's going on, guys? So this will be the first iteration of what I like to call my educational live commentary series. The goal is not only to entertain, but also to help people understand my decision-making process. So I hope that you all can benefit from applying the principles I go over in this video, and without further ado, let's jump in. So I made the mistake of forgetting to record the first round and a half of this match, but you'll see later on how it's not really important. I hear a boomer try to puke on Zoe over here, and I try to pop him through the wall. He ends up not committing though. So what's always going to give you an advantage over your opponents is simply map knowledge. Try to figure out and memorize what spots work for you and what spots don't, or just copy what I do in the video. So when it comes to enemy infected team attacks, once you see one of them going in, you can usually count on the rest of them, as you can see here. In order to avoid blowing my teammates up, I switched to my golf club and avoid using the grenade launcher altogether. So for both infected and survivors alike, it's really important to be aware of the environment you're in, whether you're inside or outside. So now that I'm inside, I'm much more aware of how I use my grenade launcher. I'll most likely be using a lot more of my golf club so that I don't inflict damage on my teammates. Just as a rule of thumb though, I would highly recommend against using the grenade launcher if you're a new player. Even then though, skill really isn't enough to make this weapon worth it. I'm only allowed to use this because of practice and also 3 other friends to support me. So an important rule of thumb to live by if you're attacking as the infected team is to keep tabs on where your teammates are at and make sure that you're not near them. The more of a surround you have on the survivors, the better. I try and juke Bill by coming up the ladder here, but it ends up not working out. So this clip coming up here is a great lesson in avoiding redundancy, and by redundancy I mean focusing too many attacks on one singular survivor. So I see Zoe get grabbed here. I can tell based on how they're moving which one's going to appear first, and I puke on all of them instead of her. So when it comes to creating advantages for yourself as the infected, it's almost always going to be easier bringing the survivors down to the low ground as opposed to letting them have the high ground. I see my charger going in here, so I need to get into the fight as soon as possible. I can't reiterate this enough though. As the infected, time is always going to be on your side. The more you can drag things out, waste their time, and just stack on damage, the better. So as you can see here, Zoe's in-capped, so right now our main priority is just keeping her down. Also for the record, this person was not a bot before they got in-capped. They kicked him after he got in-capped, and that's why it's a bot. So I get a hunter next here, and I'm going to try and take every opportunity to maximize my damage with high pounce. I see behind me that Zoe's all alone, so I go in for the kill. Just look at how fast the other team kills me. They're not messing around. So in order to give this some context, normally I wouldn't condone bot picking, but these guys just kicked their 4th again. At this point I've lost all respect for the other team because of how they're acting, so it's justified in my mind. So a little trick I like to do is to do a rocket jump and try to charge the survivor into the car to trigger the car alarm. I ended up barely missing, which is not the end of the world because it really doesn't make that big of a difference at the end of the day. But thankfully they triggered it on their own. So not only was I able to predict where Zoe was going to be when she got hunted, but as you can see I attempted to try and block her way out of the spit puddle. It's really important to do that as a spitter to make sure that you maximize the damage of your spit. So try to position yourself in front of the survivor based on the route that they're going to take out of the puddle. Rocket boom from above, well played. So when I know a horde is coming my way, I always try to position myself either against a wall or inside of a corner. You have to be kind of careful of spitters, but otherwise this is a really good strategy for avoiding getting surrounded by the commons. Also, if you see that you're alone like I am and there's still commons running around inhibiting your movement and doing damage to you, don't be afraid to reach out to your teammates and say, hey, I need help, because they don't have eyes in the back of their head. So speaking up can quite literally save your life in certain situations. So a kind of cheesy strategy you can use to your advantage is just positioning yourself in a doorway you know the jockey's going to be coming through. If you M2 at the right time, you can do it risk-free and go in for the kill. And if you're wondering why there's only 3 of them, they keep kicking their 4th. Tank just spawned, so I'm just doing some pre-firing around this corner in case there's a boomer. Friendly fired on Bill a little too much there. But honestly, stacking damage on the tank right now is the most important thing in my mind. In vanilla versus at least, you shouldn't be shy to shoot through your teammates if it means clearing a hunter like in this example. So the tank, if they're smart, they'll try to drag out the situation as much as possible to wait for their teammates to spawn in. But as the survivors, you have to pressure him by trying to recover your teammates. So even right now, there's nothing to kill, there's no commons, but I know that my teammate is vulnerable, so I'm just kind of moving around, scoping out likely avenues of attack and making sure that I spawn block them. Also, another little side tip, personal choice of mine, if I have a short range main hand weapon, I like to have a long range secondary, like a deagle is perfect. But if I have a long range main hand like a sniper rifle or an assault rifle, I really like to go with a melee weapon. That way I have the ability to take out short range and long range targets. So this is kind of situational, but you can see I shoot up this charger. I know that he's not dumb enough to chase me or else I'll kill him, so I know he's going to try to respawn eventually. But guess what? He's not going to have a lot of health, is he? So I just leave him. Watch what happens next. Look at him come in right now. Boom, boom, boom. Takes like 3 shots to kill him. It's much easier to kill a half health charger than a full health one. So right here is the safest way to kill a witch. I just give my teammates a countdown, then we all just light her up. My spidey sense tells me that there's a smoker behind us, so I turn around and shoot him in the face. Now, I may call it my spidey sense, but what I really mean is that I'm anticipating what special infected they'll have based on the spawn rotations of the past. Yeah, things are getting pretty toxic, as you can see. This is one of those scenarios where I'm just really glad that I don't have the tank, because you can't throw rocks, it's in an extremely narrow corridor, and the survivor pretty much has every advantage. So they're trying to gloat and flex in the chat here after killing the tank with 4 tier 2 weapons. So coming up on this next clip, it's really important to catch them with their pants down with the element of surprise and attack in unexpected locations. Just make sure your team is aware of where you plan on attacking. There exists what I like to call hotspots throughout every single vanilla map, and those are areas where people conventionally like to attack because they're advantageous. But in between those hotspots, you can actually create an advantage for yourself by attacking in areas that most people will not. So at this point I've pretty much lost all respect for the other team, and I refuse to wait and be patient for them, especially considering how rudely we've been treated by them throughout this game. This absolutely isn't the first time they've done bunny hopping throughout the entire match. That's not to say that everyone who bunny hops is scripting, but I know a lot of people do script and then try and pass it off as skill. The guy on the other team says swim fucking Greeks. I don't know what that's about, but if you're wondering what the stream is going nuts thing is about, that's just me quoting what another guy on the other team said, and I guess he was trying to like flex that he had a stream running and that the viewers watching his stream were going nuts, but it actually ended up all being bullshit and he didn't even have a stream. Anyway, so right here I'm just kind of ducking behind this truck because I know he's going to be smacking around the luggage carts, making sure I don't get hit, and covering my teammates appropriately. So Lewis going down right here is a pretty big deal. We're in a very vulnerable position with him down like this, so I'm just asking my teammates to cover and they're doing a great job. Don't even ask me what the hell that was. Another tip right here is if you see only one of your teammates gets boomed, you know where all the commons are going to be going, so I just like to shoot directly to the left and right of my teammate. That way you only shoot the commons without shooting them. Also, don't be this guy who's doing this as a hunter. It's painfully obvious to everyone on our team what he's trying to do. So it's important to keep tabs on where the tank is for the sake of yourself and your team, just to gain situational awareness and where he can launch projectiles from, whether it's rocks, cars, dumpsters, luggage carts, and so on. This was a really good boom. I heard him spawn, but I expected to be able to shoot his feet, and he was actually on the lip of the truck the whole time. So again, when we're not doing anything else, we're always killing commons. So right here we know the round is about to end, but we know that the tank isn't going to make it easy for us, and neither are the commons when it comes to getting on that plane. So we decided it's better to just try and kill the tank, and we actually managed to do that pretty easily here. So this map's finale is super survivor favored, so it's really not the survivor round that I'm worried about, but the infected one. Even though we got a perfect score here, they can still win with a tiebreaker. So there's really not many good places to attack here, so I just do whatever the hell that was. Not every attack is going to go your way as the infected, and you'd be amazed at how quickly you can turn things around, as you're about to see here. So I see my teammates setting up, I can tell they're about to go, and I just make sure they're all ready before we execute our next attack. I'm just keeping my eye on our charger to make sure I know where he's going, and wherever he ends up is where I'm going to spit on. They end up clearing him before that even happens though. Again, this finale in particular is very survivor favored, so it's not the end of the world if our attacks don't do a lot of damage. It's really just going to come down to the tanks here. So we know the tank is coming up here, and I'm on the lookout for two spawns specifically. That is a boomer and a charger, and ideally a smoker and a hunter. So this is really the ideal setup for the tank. We notice that there's still a horde coming in and that the tank hasn't spawned just yet, so we decided to do another hit here. Another quick little tip here, if you see that you keep getting spawn blocked by the survivors, don't expect them to move out of the way for you. You need to actively be moving behind cover to try and silhouette them in order to get your spawn. Jumping as it goes can also help with this. So how I like to play Hunter when there's a tank is just to distract the survivors and keep their eyes on me as much as I can. And as you can see right here, because of the fact that their attention was diverted, Lewis ends up getting hit by the luggage cart. To try to press this advantage we have even further, I go in for an attack on Bill, and our tank actually ends up getting another hit on the luggage cart. And with only one of them left, this game's completely over. So we seriously went through a lot of shit trying to beat these guys, and I encourage my teammates to spam GG in the chat. And the enemy team's not saying anything. It's just glorious. So, if you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you really enjoyed this type of content and you wanted to see more, make sure to let me know. I'm actually working on a No Mercy live commentary as we speak, so make sure to stay tuned for that, and I will see you all next time.